lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name's Ryan, and with me, as always, my hetero life mate, Dylan, my co-host. We are going to be talking about our favorite books this week. We picked 3 books to talk about: Batman the Detective, Sandman, Locke Key, and Spider-Man Spider Shadow. But we are also going to touch on Daredevil 29.
Yeah. All right, so Daredevil 29. Matt's still in prison. Elektra's still being Daredevil. Mayor Fisk. It's weird saying that, Mayor Fisk. But Mayor Fisk has an internal power struggle going on within himself. There's a lot of power struggles going on right now. And all this in the wake of King in Black. I like it. I can't sit here and not let anybody go without reading it. Like I tell people that there are 2 Marvel titles that I read religiously whenever it comes out, and I hate myself for it because I always have to because it's a month gap in between each issue of Daredevil. I love the story. So much coming, but anyway, Chip Zdarsky, internet persona aside, he is one of the best writers I've ever seen. As far as the Daredevil comic goes, and that's saying a lot because the Daredevil, the people who've taken up Daredevil, like them or not, like they've all been strong. And Ryan and I have been saying this since we started doing the podcast. It's since one of our first trade paperbacks we did was Daredevil. Very few weak Daredevil stories, and I think this is one of the strongest to date. Putting Matt in a position where what Matt's doing is self-flagellation, and he's making himself suffer, and why, and for what, and then that all starts to unfold because they weren't really touching on it like ever since he's been in prison. Like they're kind of touching it here and there. They kind of like shifted focus a little bit to Elektra and her understanding of the mantle of Daredevil in Hell's Kitchen, and I think that they're doing a great job. But I'll touch on that in a second. But Matt's self-flagellation and the suffering, the kind of suffering that they're putting him through in prison is different because throughout this issue, they're essentially calling Matt a tourist of the prison system because he's choosing to be there, right? And he's trying to offer up these justifications as to why he chose to be there. But in the end, everyone just kind of looks at him the same. Even the doctor is like, you're here for yourself. Like, you're not here because of anything like that. And then Marcus is kind of like that too. And then, to add what the people are, how are they reacting to him being in prison? It's also showing, like, giving you a glimpse of how he's reacting, which is crazy because he's always been on one side of the law because he's a lawyer and because he's Daredevil, but now he's seeing the results of the system that he sends these criminals to, and how it's flawed and how it just regurgitates, and how prisons are essentially a revolving door, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
but this isn't his first foray into the prison system, though. Right?
Yeah, but this is different.
Bendis left him in jail, and Brubaker picked up the pieces from that. But it is different. It is different in the sense that, like, first of all, Kingpin's not in there with him.
Yeah.
All the other villains that he's put away aren't really in there with him. This is more of him.
He's in Gen Pop.
Yeah. So, like, it is different in that respect, and it's not, like, constantly fighting. I feel like when he was in there before, and then, like, back in the that run, like, Punisher got himself put in jail to break Matt out. Like, there's so much shit going in there, and, like, his identity was public then, so it's like he didn't have his fucking, like, he's now made a mask out of, like, a prison shirt, which is kind of funny. But yeah, it is interesting.
I love how it's orange still. It's an orange Daredevil mask. That's literally what it is.
I mean, but yeah, it is. I agree with you that it is a different take on him in jail, but at the same time, like, I hope it's not much longer because, like, you can only play this card for so long with him in there. Like, he needs to get out. And if the reason he's in there is to kind of let this story with Elektra being Daredevil breathe, right, and give that a little bit of a weight, or a little bit of room to grow, that's fine. Like, I don't mind her as Daredevil. I was hoping it wasn't going to go forever, like because I thought like in the beginning, remember I was like, oh, it's just Marvel fucking cashing in on this.
Yeah.
But it's starting to feel more like Jason Aaron having Jane Foster become Thor.
Yeah.
Like
This is a new Daredevil. Her tactics are different, and I like it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I like it too. And her and like dulling the fucking her size, the tips of her size.
That's just the best.
And now she's got her new little sidekick. I told Nick, I was like, oh, watch the specs like latch onto her. Watch them fucking make her something that I mean, who knows? Maybe she does start training with her as like, you know, a sidekick. I mean, I wouldn't put it past Zdarsky to do that. I don't, and not necessarily is that bad, but like she saved her. Her mom's dead. She's got no fucking parents. And Elektra is like, you see this little bit of warmth and caring in her, but at the same time, she's like, she's very harsh. She can be very harsh, and I really like his characterization of Elektra. I've liked it since he's put her in the book, you know, early on. So.
I also like the character design of Elektra, not just the Daredevil costume. I mean, even in her civilian clothes. I love how her hair. It feels like her hair is alive.
I fucking love her hair. I love the way Marco Cicchetto does it.
Yeah, and it's like Klaus Janson, right? How when Klaus Janson did Elektra way back then with the big poofy '90s hair. And it was kind of alive too, but this is like, you know, modern hair. That's, dude, I love it. I love the emphasis on that. Yeah, this is. I mean, what else can we say other than like, if you're not reading it, catch up, because it's a hell of a story. Even before, especially before the prison part.
We pretty much just made this one of our books this week because we've spent so much time talking about Daredevil. But I knew it. That's why the only reason I said we should make it one of the books is because I'm like Zdarsky twice. Yeah. But whatever, he's that good of a writer, you know.
He is. He really is. You could tell that he loves every one of these characters that he writes. And you could even tell it in that he loves the characters that he writes in Stillwater. You could tell. What's the other one? Sex Criminals. Like you see the love. He draws the sex criminals. Yeah, but you can see the love and the labor in it, right? I can't wait to see what else Marvel gives him, where he moves on to from here. Now he's literally writing for everything. He's writing for DC, he's writing for Image, and he's writing for Marvel. Chip Zdarsky is what we call in the industry a triple threat. So that he sings, he dances, and he acts. So you know what I mean? Like, he's doing a fantastic job. I don't know how much longer his Daredevil run goes. I hope it goes on until maybe 50. I'd be okay with 50.
Yeah, I'd be okay if it goes until they give him Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you should get Amazing Spider-Man next.
I think so too.
I'm at it here. I'm not even gonna like talk about the stories in Batman Urban Legends Wonder Woman. Just know that those are my picks. Because you didn't read them, so like it's more fun to be able to talk with you about what you read.
But Chip Zdarsky also wrote something for Urban Legends too, so it's you know, the week of Chip.
Let me tell you something. It is probably the best Red Hood I've ever read in comic books. The first one was great. The second story, amazing. And like there's a background story in there that's really good. The outsider story is really good. The grifter story that's pretty good. And then, you know, the Wonder Woman by Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad is really good. But, you know, we'll jump in towards the end of the arc and we'll actually give that a little bit more of a shine. But, I did want to just, like, shout those books out because those were two of my other favorites this week. You know, let's just keep with Zdarsky. Let's just fucking – the reason why I said he should write Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah. It's – first of all, he wrote I can't remember if it was Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man, whatever, that he wrote where he Jonah knows who Peter is as Spider-Man. He wrote that issue that revealed the identity, right? Then he went on to write Spider-Man Life Story. It's clear that and I think we should do an episode on that too, because it's been a little while since that book's been out, and I would love to read it again.
Life Story was phenomenal.
Gets Peter Parker, and in this fucking goddamn book, Spider's Shadow, the first in what I hope will be a series of what ifs. I mean, he touches on it in the back that like this is just like the first of many to come. That there will be more. Not Chip that writes. I think it's the editor.
It is Chip. No, it's Chip.
Chip?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. It is. Okay, it is Chip. Right. like you see it in the corner of the book. There's a new little "What If" logo, which I really
love it. I love it.
And I like if they're going to continue to do miniseries as opposed to just one shots. Because I like the one shots. I've read quite a few of What If stories, but to be able to get a little bit more time with these new worlds, kind of like how DC does their Elseworld stories, and we get like miniseries. It's not just like a 22-page story. I'm here for it. Zdarsky, like I said, I want him to write Amazing Spider-Man. I was saying it all day Tuesday. I was saying it all day yesterday at the shop. I've been saying, give the fucking Spider-Man book to Zdarsky. I don't think Jason Aaron is gonna do it. He would be another one of my picks because I kind of am more curious to see what he would do. But I think Zdarsky is the one that deserves to get Amazing Spider-Man. Like, quit fucking like letting him tiptoe around the edges of the main Spider-Man book. Just give him the fucking book.
Yeah, let him jump in. Just let him jump in and see the kind of magic. Just
So real quick, the credits. First of all, that the main cover by Phil Noto was amazing. I got the Pasquale Ferry cover, the variant for this. That was the cover I chose. He's the artist on the book, and you got Matt Hollingsworth on colors.
I got the Noto cover. I love the Noto cover too much.
Anyways, so this is set during the time period of when he still had the symbiote, and he's still.
This is like shortly after Secret Wars,
right? And I forgot that he was dating Black Cat at the time because, MJ's in. She comes in and during a scene. And I was like, and then I saw Black Cat like later on, and I had to flip back. I was like, oh, she came there as a friend. I couldn't remember because I wasn't reading Amazing Spider-Man. Obviously, I was not born yet when he was dating fucking Black Cat. So
I wasn't born yet. I wasn't
even alive. I wasn't even fucking alive when that happened. He was already married to MJ. By the time I fucking was born.
Yeah,
in the 87 annual is when they got married. So, anyways, the whole thing about this is like, what if he became Venom? But it's so much more than that. Knowing that on the surface, being like the catalyst of the story, it doesn't do it justice what you actually get. Peter in the comics, like before, like he started realizing, the symbiote's changing me, I'm getting angry, and he gets rid of it. And here he is hearing the voices, and like you see the darkness, like kind of like slowly taking over. And first of all, the art is phenomenal.
Okay.
I miss Pasquale Ferry's art. I don't know if you ever read his Adam Strange story that he did.
No, I haven't.
Early 2000s, dude.
Okay.
It'll blow you away. If you can find it digitally, read it.
All right.
Amazing. But
I really like the representation of the symbiote because in a lot of comics, like since the 90s, even since the inception of symbiotes, right? Of the idea of symbiotes. I mean, aside from the actual Secret War comic, it's all black. There's no texture to it. It's just empty black. It doesn't look like an oil slick. It looks more like a shadow, right? Mm-hmm. But even with that, even as flat as it just being flat black, when you see the suit move and you see it looks so alive, right? And then whenever it's on Spider-Man and Spider-Man swinging through the city, who did those old school covers where it was black and white? And some of my favorite covers, the name escapes me, but it was during Spectacular Spider-Man.
I've never seen that cover. That's amazing.
You never seen these covers? There's 5 of them.
I've never seen those covers.
Yeah, but
was that 101? Is that what I just saw?
Yeah, Spectacular 101. Spectacular Spider-Man Volume 2 101. Yeah. But anyway, it reminds me of those old black and white Spectacular Spider-Man covers where it's just flat black emptiness, and I don't know. It's just it makes to me that seeing the texture of the costume, I feel like that's more of an Eddie Brock thing, right? Eddie Brock is big, menacing. You want to see the muscles, you want to see the shape, you want to see the definition. But I feel like when Peter has it on, he's in the stealth. He's more stealthy than he would be. You know what I mean?
100%, yeah.
He'd be more stealthy than he would be what Eddie Brock's Venom was, right? And it's kind of a reflection. It's kind of a reflection of what's going on with Peter. And they said there was a line in Back in Black, another freaking is Back in Black is after Aunt May gets shot after the whole Civil War thing. Yeah, and he says that this black costume represents something. This black costume represent, I don't tell any jokes in this costume. I don't do any I don't do any of the regular Spider-Man stuff in this costume. Like this lets everybody know, like I'm here, and I'm about the motherfucking business because I'm from Queens. Yeah. And I feel like that Chip Zdarsky really touches on that in here. Like there's scenes of brutality. It really goes to show you just how much Peter holds back, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, he's constantly. He could constantly wipe the floor with everybody he fights, kill them easily, and he doesn't. Like he's constantly self-restraint. Like that's like exactly what he's doing, and this is where we see him fucking let loose. You know what I mean? Like there's a fight with Hobgoblin in here, who I've always really liked his design, by the way. So like he unmasks him, and he's just like. You see, like, what I like, too, is, like, when he starts getting angry with the symbiote, you start seeing it, like, fray. Like, it's, like, moving on him, right? Like, you can see, like, little strands of the symbiote. I'm going to spoil it. So, spoiling the end, just heads up. All right, cool. I like the scene, like, too with, like, Reed, right? And Reed wants to fucking take the symbiote from him. And he's like, I'm not giving it to you. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way. And it shouldn't be like, because he's like, yeah, it shouldn't be kept in a prison. And he calls him a greedy scientist.
Yeah.
So he's like, this isn't a science project for you to poke with a stick. It's a living thing. You know what I mean? Like, and then he just fucking dips out. And then continuously, dude, as he's walking down the street, these are like when I really started to like the depiction of the symbiote. It's like on the ground. It's coming off of him. It's like it coming off in waves. Yeah. And who's coming in the shadows? Hobgoblin. He was embarrassed by Peter, and he fucking attacks him in his home, dude. And you can see like the scruff on Peter, which you don't normally see. So you're seeing a Peter that is a little bit darker. And dude,
and this isn't Tobey Maguire dark Peter.
No, this isn't him strutting down the street with a dumb dance, dude. This is fucking. This is good dark Peter. And he goes after Hobgoblin. He's like, how dare you fucking attack me in my home, pretty much, right? And like the house is aflame. Who's inside? Aunt May. Anybody that knows the symbiote knows one of the weaknesses is fire.
Yeah.
It doesn't allow him to go into the flames.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, dude, but like that hit me hard. Like when I was reading, I'm like, holy shit! I was like, dude, I don't like where this is going. You know, but I get it. You know, it's a what if. So I'm like, all right, she's not really gonna die in like continuity, but like, wow, like, and then what ensues? And like, I don't know. You saw Falcon Winter Soldier last week, okay? Yeah. So I was like mirroring it to that, and I'm like, I was like, oh my god, like this is weird. This is happening at the same time. Yeah. Because like what he does to Hobgoblin, dude, and he succumbs, and what I do like is like it's like, oh, what if he becomes Venom? But they didn't. I'm like, don't give him the Venom teeth, please, for the love of God, don't make him just actually look like Eddie Brock Venom. And they didn't. They gave him like those weird like actual looking spider teeth on the mask, right? Yeah. And the eyes get a little bit creepier. And I love this design. I really am digging the design, and he kills Hobgoblin. We got 3 issues left. I can't even imagine what they're gonna give us.
The design is dope. The design is dope. I like I said, it all boils down to I could see you
designing this. I could have seen you drawing this in class when we were in high school. You know what I mean? Like when we were coming up with like weird designs and stuff. Our characters, you know, like this is like something you would have drawn.
I like the red and blue shadow lines. You see, kind of like how during a separation anxiety with the red shadowed Venom and the blue shadowed Venom. Just the idea of Peter letting loose, with a very convoluted, a very molested version of Peter's ideals, because the symbiote is obviously poisoning him. We're getting a very raw, very young symbiote, where this is like, you know, the symbiote we see in friggin' King in Black is not it is not the symbiote here.
No. This is the symbiote that attached itself to Eddie Brock, who also had dealt with like fucking like anger and trauma and all this other bad shit happening in his life, which is why he turned into Venom, which is why when the symbiote attached itself to him, it really fed off the anger and the hate. And that's what it did here. And that is why he's becoming Venom. It's not like he's just becoming Venom because he's Peter, right? A tragedy happens to where that was the turning point. If that tragedy doesn't happen, maybe he does give up the symbiote and he's like, oh man, it's changing me. I can't do this. But that was the turning point for him. This if that was what it was, like, oh, Aunt May's dead, fuck you, I'm killing you.
Everybody's getting it. Not just Queens either, all 5 boroughs.
Yeah. So this is my favorite Spider-Man book. Like that's why I finished the comic and I'm like, God damn it, Marvel, just give him the fucking book already. Just let him write Amazing Spider-Man. Please.
Yeah. I'd pick that up in a heartbeat.
To me, this is a perfect book. I had nothing wrong with this book. 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, whatever you want to give it. I enjoyed the shit out of it. I really, really loved the book.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I welcome back the idea of what ifs, because what ifs they serve a purpose, right? They serve a purpose for every single comic fan who is a child at heart, right? Especially in from the inception of comic books, from like the 60s to, you know, the tail end of the 90s, right? Mm-hmm. Where we got stories where fans like you and I would speculate on, like, hey man, wouldn't it be crazy if this happened? Hey, wouldn't it be crazy if this happened? That's what these what ifs serve a purpose for. It manifests the craziest, most offbeat things that only us as fans would truly appreciate. I feel like what if comics are like a fan's comic book. Like, you know what I mean? Like it provides some kind of like glimpse as to what our own imaginations like would perceive something to happen. Would perceive something to happen if one little change just happened to one of our favorite characters.
Yeah, we got a collection of them at the shop too. I've been going through them. I'm like, oh, I kind of want to get some of these. Like a shit ton of them. Yeah, they're cool.
What if comics are great? Like, you know what I mean? And I love the new logo. I love that the person to spearhead this was Chip Zdarsky. I love that it's Spider-Man who started this new volume of what ifs. Because in Spider-Man's story, like, you could what if anything. You could what if so much of Spider-Man stories that
what if Uncle Ben doesn't die? What if Gwen Stacy doesn't die? Yeah. What if there's so many
variables. There's so many events so many events. Like, what if Carnage had succeeded in Maximum Carnage? What if what if Kraven got his last hunt? Like, what if anything for Spider-Man? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm glad that it's Chip Zdarsky to spearhead the writing, and the character to spearhead it is Spider-Man. And I hope that going on from here that we get other creatives, like, you know, we'd always wanted to see on certain titles to actually do a title and for it to be a what if. Because what ifs are fun.
Yeah, I'm down for I'll pick up every single one for sure. Yeah. I love the book. And let's speaking of what ifs, Batman the Detective, you could kind of consider almost
it is a what
in
if.
that vein, because this is set in the future. We have a Batman, Old Man Bruce.
This is right before Batman Beyond Bruce, I feel like.
Yeah, he doesn't have a fucking mohawk too, doesn't he?
No, he has one of those fuckboy.
It's a weird haircut.
He has one of those military fuckboy haircuts.
Yeah. Yeah. So Todd Taylor.
Yeah.
Who we love
around here. Yeah. I will say this. I love Tom Taylor, but like, out of all the books that I've read this week, I would have to say that this was the one that I liked the least. It was great. I mean, it was fantastic. Okay. I mean, first off, Tom Taylor writer, Andy Kubert on pencils and inks.
And Brad Anderson on colors. Did you notice that he was credited first?
Who?
Andy Kubert. Like in the credits and inside the book. Batman the Detective Part 1, Andy Kubert, pencils and inks, Tom Taylor writer. like Andy Kubert came first. I thought that was interesting. I don't know. I don't know why they did it, but it was just an interesting choice.
I respect that. I respect it. I respect it.
So do I. So, you know, I really
I feel like Tom Taylor was like, "You're a Kubert, bro."
Like, yeah. You can go ahead and take the raise. Yeah. So this whole thing set in the future, right? It's all about this group of people that are going after people that Batman has saved.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I mean, it's not like it's never been done. We've seen this in other heroes where like, oh, we're gonna kill the people that you've saved. Actually, Jeff Johns did it with his second arc in Wally West Flash. Cicada was like started this cult and he killed people that Flash had saved, stealing their fucking energy by stabbing them and murdering them and fucking taking the power himself. So it's not a new concept, but I liked it. You know, like we see Beryl. She's the new knight. She's got a new squire. So I'm surprised nobody spec'd on this book, but you know, I'm gonna keep shaming specs anytime I can.
Give it a week.
Yeah.
Give it a week. Give it a week. So you know how it goes.
First of all, Andy Kubert, I always love when he draws a Batman story, but I like this too. And like, I don't like when they spray painted Batman 147. I stopped reading the book and I looked up Batman 147 to see if like maybe there's a connection there to like that story, but I didn't really see it necessarily. But I think it's more like that's how many people they killed so far.
No, that was how many passengers were in the plane.
I thought they said 146 at one point. That's why like 147 was a weird number. But, you know, whatever. It was a good book. But in terms of like the rest of what we read, it was like I would say this was a solid 8.
Yeah. I agree.
Nothing like too big happens in it. It's like we're getting like the groundwork for what the concept is. I did like seeing the Gentleman Ghost in like this new form, like which is really weird. Everybody's left Bruce. Everybody's abandoned him. He's alone now in his cave. He's got no one. So like that was kind of cool. I thought the interaction between him and the knight who used to be the squire, where she's like, so like, what did she ask?
Did you impress him?
Oh yeah, did you impress her?
Like,
I punched the ghost. So like that was kind of cool.
He smirks. He smirks because he's impressed too. It's like I punched the ghost.
That's what the fuck I did. Yeah, so like there were some cool moments, but I don't know. What was your take on it? Like I've read Better Batman by Tom Taylor.
So I read Better Batman by Tom Taylor, but you know I know Tom Taylor, and how many issues are we getting with this? 4, 5,
6.
Oh, we're getting 6. So we're just scratching the surface. This is all groundwork right here. Give it a second. Squire will die or Beryl will die. I don't know. Someone's gonna die.
It's not a Tom Taylor book unless somebody's
it's not a Tom Taylor book unless somebody dies.
Unless he brings you on the verge of tears or 2 tears, it's not Taylor.
I still stand by this. That Tom Taylor likes making people cry in public. He has no qualms with it, and it's kind of a thing. But no, this is a solid book. Like I have no complaints about it. But I just felt like it is all groundwork. I want to see more about this new cult of blank Batmans and Equilibrium. When he kept on saying Equilibrium at first, and then they did the big reveal as to that the whole plane was orchestrated to be nothing but Batman survivors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they hit. Yeah.
How do you get all those survivors on the plane? Like, how does that happen?
I don't know. What are you going to Europe for, bro? Like,
it's weird.
It's a freaking Saved by Batman convention. It was one of the best cons ever.
So how do you save you? Yeah, that. Like that.
Exactly.
Like now I'm picturing a fucking Batman Save Me convention.
Yeah, with the really bad green carpet, and just everyone just like kind of like hanging around.
Yeah.
But anyway, art phenomenal. There's 2 people in this. There's 2 names I tie synonymously with drawing Batman and drawing Wolverine and drawing both really well. And that's Jim Lee and Andy Kubert. any Kubert. I don't care. It could be Grandma Kubert. Any Kubert. Just their ways of drawing both of those characters have been fantastic, and and he's in top form in this one. You know what I mean? When it comes down to the panels, he does everything. He does 9 panels, he does 6 panels, he does freaking cascading falling panels. Like he's a master of his craft, and you can tell, like, you know what I mean. Like he took some stuff out of the Kubrick that came before him.
Yeah, I also like the bulky Batman. That's like a Batman I really enjoy. So like I'm glad he went with like that instead of like the sleek, thinner Bruce. Like he's older, he's bulky. I like that. Real quick, I gotta say, first name that comes to mind for Batman artist is Neil Adams for me. Even though I didn't grow up with Neil Adams, he is like in my comic book brain, like synonymous. Like I think like Jim Lee to me it does. I mean, he did draw a good Batman, but Neil Adams is like the one that I think of. And you can't forget about.
Oh no, I'm talking about Neil drawing Batman and Wolverine. Like
together.
Yeah, they're not together, but like who's done both. I don't know if Neil Adams has done any X-Men. I don't think
he did X-Men, but not Wolverine.
Oh, okay.
Two X-Men in the 60s.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but you see, but I'm talking about those two in particular. Now, as far as I'd say Neil Adams would be my Batman artist as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, so like I don't really have anything else I can say about the book other than
I feel like we're gonna get the bulks in 2 and 3, and then Tom Taylor's been sticking the landing lately, so I feel like whatever the end game, whatever the end game here is with this, it's gonna be good. Yeah,
I definitely think people should pick it up. Don't get me wrong. I feel like just because we didn't spend much time talking about the book doesn't mean that it was not good, because the writing was solid, the art was great. The concept, I want to see more. This is an 8. It's an 8 for me. Mm-hmm. And I think it was overshadowed by the next book that we're going to talk about, which was far and above my favorite book this week.
I agree. It's everything that I hoped for. It delivered.
It surpassed my expectations.
It delivered and then some. Like, I didn't know what we were getting into.
I had no fucking clue. That's why it surpassed.
I had no clue. I had and the thing is, I had just recently finished not just recently, but last year, February, I finished Locke Key.
Oh, so that's about when I read it. I read it for the first time. I read all 6 volumes. Yeah. So
yeah, same. I did when we went to Hawaii. I read 3 volumes on the way there and 3 volumes on the way back.
Nice.
It's just
it's such a good series. It is so
good.
And they announced this fucking it was last year at Comics Pro. So right before the pandemic, they announced that this book was coming out. And I didn't I'm like, how do you do this? How do you combine these two worlds? Of course, a key.
A key. And all the promos, the key that they showed, this is what got me. The key that they showed was the key to hell. Right? And that's what got me. I mean, I never put 2 and 2 together because, how do you bring these two worlds together? You could easily tie in a dreaming thing there with Morpheus or whatever. But no, it's a key. Of course, it's a key, right? Fucking course it's. But which Locke was going to be the main Locke, and it's pretty much been a mystery. They pretty much kept it quiet. They've had their little their little road to issues where they talk about the history of the Locke family and what they've done, and who they've lost and how they've lost. So this is basically a culmination of all that, right?
Right, but it's interesting too because I was like, why is this random Locke and Key miniseries Lost Battalions coming out? Mm-hmm. And it leads right into this. I don't know if you read those. Those 2 issues. Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay, that's dope. That if you didn't read those 2 issues that came out in the last few months, you have to read them because that is who this is. It's based within this time period, and it's literally talking about, and that's why the sister. But anyway, so first off, Joe Hill wrote the book. He's with Gabriel Rodriguez on art. They're the co-creators of Locke and Key. And then you got Jay Photos on colors, Sean Lee's on letters. And, the whole thing is Jack, who was in that Pale Battalions series, he died, right? Going into I think it was World War I. And
the Great War, as it was called.
Yeah, so they're all the whole point of this, and the reason that they are connecting this is because they're trying to figure out a way to bring Jack back. It's crazy to see Morpheus in this time period because it's like you read Sandman and you're like, oh, so he was just trapped in this
fucking sitting glass there
wall for fucking decades, right? Like he's just trapped. And like you don't realize like, oh, what could have happened in the in between.
Yeah.
And like so Alex Burgess opens the door and he has the fucking mask.
Yeah.
And the sister, Jack's sister, is going to Roderick because she wants to convince him to use like whatever connections he has. She doesn't quite know how, but to be able to pull him back from hell. And first of all, you see the mask. I was like, yes. I like started getting excited. But then when you flip that fucking page and you're going down, you know where you're going. You know exactly what's about to take place if you've read Sandman. But just that fucking page with Morpheus, breathtaking. Yeah. Gabriel Rodriguez's art is so leveled up compared to what he drew on Locke Key that I mean, like I was absolutely blown away.
I kind of feel like it's like a melding, like what he was trying to accomplish here. It was like a melding of some of like the best drawings of Morpheus and his own style, and trying to incorporate it so that way he gives us all the feels of like what it was like the first time for us as Sandman readers, right?
Yeah.
Like I mean, it's not Sam Keith, so don't get me wrong, but like this is
and just the way he has like the hand hanging down.
Yeah.
Like it just felt so like he drew
so
that
weighted.
Yeah.
So weighted. Like, and then the reflection, how it bends. But like it's crazy because like the way he's defined within the glass, he looks more realistic than everybody else, right? Like it's crazy. And but back to circle back to what you were saying about like, he was just sitting in one position, just like the entire like 80 years he was in the thing. And then you kind of see him move and he's like, oh, he was moving. He was doing stuff. Okay, cool. Like, you know what I mean? And then it's crazy because, Morpheus doesn't say anything. He doesn't have to say anything.
Oh, dude, he's just sitting there, and then he's just sitting there like staring angrily with the sand, and you see like the sand kind of like pouring out of his hand. Yeah. You know what I mean? I was like, he looks, I don't want to say menacing, but he's fucking pissed, dude. Like you could clearly see how angry and frustrated he is that he's just fucking trapped there. And I don't know exactly how long at this point he had been trapped because I can't remember like the exact year.
What do you go? Roderick Burgess mentions a little over a decade, so at least 10 years.
And he's got a lot more years to go before he fucking.
Maybe like another 70 years.
Right? It's crazy.
It's fucking wild. It's absolutely wild. But yeah. Anyway, so Mary finally, realized, after Mary is over here like yelling at Morpheus, demanding help. He doesn't say anything, but what he does, he smears the sand on the glass and then he draws the mask. Without saying anything, he actually helps a lot. Or does he? We don't know. We'll see. But anyway, she uses her anywhere key to get into the room of Alex Burgess while he's using both the Dreamstone and the helm of the helm of the Shaper. So crazy. The fact that he's using both. So this is before the Dreamstone. So you can see, because if you know anything about like the Dreamstone and like what how it gets utilized in the first volume of Sandman, this is like before all that craziness, thank God. And you can see where someone would gain an addiction to it and why someone would want it in their life, because this kid is obviously like manipulating his dreams and doing all this. But Mary wants that helmet. Mary wants the Dreamstone. So what does she do? She gives the kid the anywhere key. And
because she's playing into that fact that like he was ready to go. He's ready to go to the United States and see the great West frontier, because like he's always trapped in this house. Like he doesn't get to do anything, right? Yeah. So
because
dad's a fucking scumbag. He's such a creeper too. Like, and Gabriel Rodriguez, like the way he draws his face, like he just looks like a fucking scumbag with his like wife or his mistress that calls him daddy, which is like really creepy too. by the way.
Yeah, that's always creepy. I don't
Yeah, I don't like that stuff. So the way Mary fucking manipulates Alex is like, well, here's this key. And well, and she tells him like, well, I need it too. So just make sure you come back within a certain amount of time because I'm going to need to get home. This is where the story just like takes off. Like she gets the helm, she gets the dreamstone, and like she lays there, dude, and everything just changes around her. And she fucking wakes up right on top of Abel's grave.
I love it. That's one of my favorite things. Abel's grave. Of course it's Abel's grave. Because why wouldn't it be Abel's grave? Yeah. Abel's always going to be in a grave.
He's always dead. He's always getting killed, dude. And she wakes up there and he's like, can somebody help? And he's like buried fucking 6 feet under. So she starts digging his ass out.
And then in the background, you see both the House of Mystery and the House of Horror. So it's both houses.
Yeah. Right.
So, and you know, they always reference that there must always be 2 houses. There has to be 2 houses. And they even touch on these houses in in Swamp Thing. Just saying, put it out there.
Yeah, so anytime we can tie it into Swamp Thing.
But anyway, so she goes to the house. She meets Kane, and while she's wearing the helmet and the stone, and Kane confuses her for the Lord of Dreams. Then something interesting happens. I love this because, and it starts shaping itself like Key House. Oh, she is in the House of Mystery. Kane says it. Okay, and starts shaping it in the shape of Key House. Which is funny because the joke. This is all some kind of cruel joke that is being played on Abel right now because Kane is a dick.
It's so vicious.
Yeah, and basically he's playing along with her thinking that Abel is a zombie filled with rats, or an entire body of rats wearing a suit. And what do? They load up a keyhole-shaped cannon with keys and blast freaking Abel into smithereens.
That's one of the most vicious kills I've seen in comic books, I think.
Yeah,
like Kane is like smiling. He's like this. He's like smiling as he's showing the fucking keys. Yeah. And then you just see Abel explode, and then you go to the next page, and he's just blown to pieces all over the front, dude. And he's still talking.
It looks like I found the key to my heart and my liver and my lungs. This is so good. But anyway, she runs off because she's absolutely terrified that Abel's still talking. And she finds herself at the ivory doors of the dream.
Oh my god, yeah.
And you can tell that both Joe Hill and Gabriel Hernandez were fans of this book because the homages they pay to each of to Neil Gaiman's work, Sam Keith's work, is just absolutely flawless. Like every turn of the page, I kept smiling because I kept seeing more and more of what I loved. I was like, damn, they just dove right into it. It wasn't subtle at all. It was just like, boom, you're in the dream. And then because technically she has the items of rule for the dream, so everyone's confusing her with, are you the new master now? Did you take it from Morpheus? Did Morpheus give it to you? Did he hand it to you? Are you the new inheritor of the dream world? So everyone's kind of confused, but they're kind of like guiding her along. And then the dream world shapes itself to the will of the Dream Lord, which is now Mary, right? So it turns into this beautiful, lush, just evergreen freaking paradise.
And you see like that key-shaped like thing in the center of the garden with the spiral too.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's so good.
It's gonna be good. And if you read Locke and Key, you know if there's a keyhole, there's a key, and what that key does, that remains to be seen. It could be anything, right?
Yeah.
Like even in the back of the Locke and Key trade, there were keys that they explained and they showed that they never even actually fully utilized, right? The possibilities here as to what keys Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez and with Neil Gaiman like kind of like, hey, what's up? I'm just gonna be your consultant. like you know what I mean?
I'm telling you, like I'm not even.
What must it be like to be like, you know what? Hold on.
Hey, Neil. Hey, Neil.
Let me call Neil.
Yeah. What the fuck?
Like I feel like Neil Gaiman lives in like some sort of meadow. The only way to call him is like rotary phone.
I mean, like, this is I know they did the Sandman universe stuff right around the time that they announced DC Rebirth. I remember I was at that panel, right? And like Neil Gaiman, like he didn't come out on the stage, but he like had recorded a video, and all the creative teams for the Sandman universe of books were on stage talking about it, right? Like, so he handpicked and he approved the writers that were going to be writing in this universe. I can't imagine anybody better than Joe Hill. Like, after reading Locke and Key, to like continue kind of in this world, like I'm trying to think of another writer that is good for that world. Like I read some of the Dreaming stuff, it was good, but this is the best I've read a Sandman related story since Neil Gaiman.
Yes.
Like, this story was phenomenal. Like you said, I was smiling constantly as I'm turning the pages. Like, I was like, this is just, it's not fair that it's this good.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not fair to every comic book that came out this week that I'm going to be talking about Dylan, because, like, this is, like, I know I said Spider-Man Spider Shadow was a 10. I would almost give this an 11. That's how much I fucking loved this book.
Yeah, and then we get like not a cameo, like a short little like stained glass cameo from the Babe of all babes, Death. And you know, it's crazy because it's like so many homages. Like even the further Mary goes into the dreaming, right? Mm-hmm. It just becomes more and more. It stops at some point. It feels like it stops becoming a Locke and Key story, and it literally. The Locke and Key aspect of it was to just get into the dreaming, is what I feel like, right? Like this is essentially going to be a dreaming story, and it just so happens to have a Locke and Key, a Locke family member, right? When she finally gets to the library, and they keep on talking about the Corinthian, like, so I'm sitting here like, let's fucking go, and then keep in mind like. This, like we said, this is at least 70 years prior to Morpheus getting out, right? So there's still a lot of space to be covered here. We don't even know if Mary is going to be the main protagonist in this, right?
Right.
For all we know, like, it could be anyone. It could be we can see more of the Endless. We can see Death. Like, you know
I hope
mean?
we see Death.
Like,
I need to see my girl Death. Like, I found her first appearance at the shop the other day in the collection. I was like, I'm putting that aside for me, Nick. I'm letting you know. That's going home with me. Like, I need that book.
Sandman number 8 is one of my grails right now. I have Sandman number 1 slab.
I have a Sandman 1 and a Sandman 8. I found Sandman 1 through 9 in this collection, but I don't need all of them. I just want 1
and 8.
And 8. That's all I need. That's all I need for my collection. And I'm not getting these because like they're key issues. I'm getting them because like I love these characters. I love this world. That's why this book, when it was announced, I was so excited for, and it hit every single
mark. Landings, from artwork to story to staying true to original source material, and the simple fact that Joe and freaking Gabriel literally has been leading up to this without really saying anything to anyone, and just kind of like, oh, by the way, you had to read these. Like, this was all part of it. Like, you know what I mean? And where it goes from here, pardon the pun, but it's gonna be endless.
Yeah. The possibilities
are endless.
It's literally like such a perfect marriage of like franchise, I guess is okay if a word to use, two intellectual properties coming together. Like, when it was announced Sandman, Locke and Key, I'm like, oh, that's an interesting take. That's an interesting combination of franchise or of comic book titles to come together, and it works.
Yeah,
it works because of the Locke and Key aspect of like, where there's keys and you can, like, the possibilities of the keys are endless, right? Yeah. So like of what the powers they can do. Like, she even gives Roderick that key that can light anything, the matchstick key, like, which I don't remember ever seeing before. I think, right?
Exactly.
Is that the first time?
No, that's a brand new key.
Right.
I don't remember it being used.
Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez just knocked this out of the park for me. The excitement level for the book is now even higher than it was than my anticipation to read issue 1 was. Like, I cannot wait to see where they go, and I hope that this, in turn, maybe like we get more of the marriage of these two properties together in the future. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because you could do a sequel to this.
Yeah.
Because just like Locke and Key spans decades, the Sandman universe spans decades. So it's like you could continue to tell stories within both of these worlds together. Oh, fuck. It's just so good.
It's I didn't know I needed this.
Neither did I.
I didn't know I needed this, and this crossover doesn't feel like a forced crossover. This is kind of like, I feel like Locke and Key fans are Sandman fans off top. Like, you know what I mean? Like, for the most part, that kind of fits the criteria and kind of fits the genre of people who like, because, you know, there are people who really like Sandman, people who don't, you know. And I feel like for the people who like it, like, I feel like at some point in their life or at some point in their life, they will or have read Locke and Key, and this is kind of like in that criteria of these are very specific readers. The fact that they're making this mesh so well, so seamlessly, and almost too good to be. Like you said, it's not fair that a comic this good is out, right? Because what else do you do? Like, you know, I feel like other creators are reading this who had comics come out the same day are reading this right now and be like, damn, this is really good. I should have did this.
Maybe I should have pushed my comic book back a week.
Yeah,
you know, like, yeah. I mean,
but like
crossovers aren't usually, like, they're very hit or miss. It's either, and I would say this is probably my favorite crossover that I've read ever. I don't think I've enjoyed a crossover this much. Yeah, because usually, like, they're just fun, right? They're like, okay, Batman and Captain America, or, you know, JLA Avengers. They're just like fan service.
Yeah.
This was not fan service. This was a true merger of the, like, Sandman universe with Locke and Key, and, like, it just, like you said, seamless. Like, it went together perfectly because of the way that these stories are told, and because of the genres where they kind of are like horror, they're fantasy, like they're both, like there's so many different genres within them.
Yeah.
That to put them together, just, I mean, to me, it's, now looking at it, it's a no-brainer. Like, no wonder they did this.
Kind of makes you wonder what other Sandman, I mean, aside from the Endless, obviously, and aside from people who exist in the Dreaming, and possibly Lucifer.
Oh, you gotta have Lucifer.
You gotta have Lucifer in it. Like, how do you not? Because they're trying to bring him back from hell.
Yeah.
You gotta go there. You gotta talk to the man. Ish.
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. And we all know how eloquent Lucifer is. And we don't know at what stage he is in his wanting to quit or not wanting to quit, you know?
Right, because when we see him, that's 80 years later.
Yeah, he's like, man, fuck this. Take the key, Morpheus, I'm out.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I know. I mean, like, I could keep talking about it. It's just so
good. So, like I said, like, you know, it's endless. Like, and we don't even know the parts that, you know, Morpheus's siblings will play yet. Like, you know, I mean, and then there's Death, who's just going to be nonchalant as always. It's like, oh, no.
And I feel like you need to have Death because they're talking about bringing somebody back from death. It's not just hell.
Yeah.
Like, you have to have Death in there. And I feel like Joe Hill knows. Joe Hill knows that people are going to want to see Death.
And the thing is, it's like, if you start thinking about it, start thinking about some of the tones here, you're already starting to see some inklings of the Endless, like, because like, you know, Destiny, you know, what it's gonna be the foretold path, right? And then Delirium, and all of them, Desire. Like, there's gonna be there's so much of the Endless already in the story, but it's very subtle. So I feel like we're finally, like, one of these books are gonna spec hard because we're gonna see an Endless we've only heard about, right? Like,
which one? I mean, there was a new Endless that member of the Endless that premiered in, like, the current series that's happening, and nobody's spec'd on it.
Members of the Endless. Sandman. Hold on. There's 8.
We've seen them all, though.
Have we?
Yeah. We've seen... I mean, you read that Endless book, right? Where it had short stories of each member.
Who's the new one?
Look up Dreaming Waking Hours. And it'll...
Oh, wait, there's 2 dreams.
Right, because Morpheus dies and...
Yeah.
And then you get the new version, the white
Daniel. You get Daniel.
Yeah. His son is the new Sandman.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, never mind. Well, anyway. We got Destruction. Destruction was the one we saw in the waking hours. I remember because we haven't seen Destruction before, right? No, we haven't seen Destruction. It wasn't Destruction?
No.
Oh shit, what the fuck? Anyway, wait, I digress. Well, I'll finish off with this. Sandman Locke Key, easily the best comic of the week. I feel like some people won't think so because either they haven't read Locke Key or they haven't read This is Sandman. But the people who have read both will agree with me, and I think you as well, that this was the best comic because of the simple fact that it wasn't a fan service. It was like you said, the perfect melding of two worlds and something being so seamless. Like it makes total sense. Everything that they presented to us has made total sense, and it doesn't feel forced. It wasn't abrupt. Like, all of a sudden this happens. Like, no. This is a series of things, right? It's not just like, I like how how they play into the actual history of Sandman is a good thing too. And all in all, this has exceeded my expectations. If I can give it an 11 out of 10, I would.
Same here. Yeah, that's great. It was a good week for comics again. The past few weeks have just been really good. There's been a lot of good stuff coming out. There's a lot of good stuff that's yet to come. So I can't say enough good things about, especially this book. Sandman Locke Key was the best one. I highly recommend all the books we talked about today. You guys go check that out, pick them up. But that's all I got for this week's comics. But let's talk about real quick what we're gonna do for next week. I wrote down 3 books. Thought I'd suggest.
Okay.
Way of X #1. Nightcrawler as the lead. Mighty Valkyries.
Yes.
Our girl Jade Foster.
Yes, I'm 100% for that.
And then Many Deaths of Layla Starr was my other pick, if that's cool.
Many Deaths of Layla Starr.
That's the Rom V book from Boom. Okay. What were you going to suggest?
I actually haven't even taken a look at.
Oh, okay. I did this yesterday at work. They were already written down. I was like, I don't want to fucking look through my phone.
I was like, this looks good. Oh, this looks good.
Yeah.
Oh, this looks good.
I saw the invoice because Nick was going over next week's invoice. So I'm like, okay, let me look what's going out. There's nothing really from DC that I saw. I mean, Batman Fortnite, which is already being spec'd on. So
which is crazy.
And I don't really want to read the book anyway.
I don't want to support anything Fortnite. Like I don't.
Yeah. But if there's anything else, do you see anything else that jumps out at you? I know those are all #1s, but I was just like, oh, that'd be cool to talk about those because they're kind of like Way of X is a new concept, right? Talking about religion with an S. I mean, we love Rom V, so I figured that would be a good one.
No, you're good. I'm good with those. I'm looking over the list right now. Nothing's popping out at me.
Okay. And if there's any of the ongoings that we want to touch briefly on, kind of like we do with Daredevil. We can always do that. We could pick like one book that's
ongoing. Yeah. Pick one book that's ongoing. No, I'm good with that. Yeah, I'm really good with that.
All right. Well, Thanks. So that's another episode of the Comic Lounge podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed our coverage of those books. Go check out all of those books, especially Sandman Locke Key. And again, for next week, we're going to be talking about Way of X #1, Mighty Valkyries #1, and Many Deaths of Layla Starr #1. And
well, if you're not already following us, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Comic Lounge. You can follow Dylan at The Dillbot on Instagram. Make sure you throw your comments or suggestions down below, or you can also email us at thecomicloungepod@gmail.com, and make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and hit the bell icon so you're notified every time a new vid goes up. And on that note, we're out.
Later, buds.